Okay, let's take a look. See where do we stop in the previous lesson. Okay, well, basically, we stop here is regarding the rise of the Mahayana. Okay, the rise of the Mahayana. Let's take a look. Where is it? Basically, for the rise of the Mahayana, we are in the chapter number 4, I think. Yes, it's a chapter number 4, early development in the Buddhism. So we try to see how is the rise of Mahayana just after the Emperor Asoka and also the devotion and symbolism in early Buddhism. For the Mahayana, in the previous lesson, we talked about that. The movement which became known as the Mahayana started about 150 before Christ and 100 CE lah. So meaning to say this is the time we started the Mahayana. And then you see it's true on the book of Mahasamgika and Sarvastivada trend. So we know that in, the other school involved is the Sarvastivada. And then this is the three main ingredient for the Mahayana, Bodhisattva path. And then second is visualization, practice devotedly direct at the Buddha, and mostly is concerned about the Jataka and the Avadana. And then one more thing is the three ingredients for a Mahayana is compassionate, faith, and the wisdom. So this is we so-called the Mahayana. Okay. So class, anyway, once we talk about this, basically, even though we say that this one, the wisdom, compassionate, and also the bodhicitta is the three major ingredient. But if let's say you talk about how to practice it, for example, the bodhicitta, actually if you check the Jattasika, we don't see it. But anyway, the school who practices in obvious way, the way we see is in Tibetan Buddhism usually they will try to keep on chanting to increase to develop the bodhicitta. And then secondly, if about the compassionate, basically the compassionate the metta bhavana is still available nowadays, both in Mahayana and Theravada. But usually it is not the great one, but just the compassionate. The compassionate haven't go to the extent to save all the living being for many eons. The reason is the metta bhavana based on the Nikaya and the Abhidhamma. Basically, the devotees at that moment, they don't really aim for Buddhahood because the differences between the Buddha and the Sawaka is not much different. The differences between the Mahayana, between the Buddha and the Arahant is very, very vast. Is once starting of the Mahayana movement. Okay, so this is the second one. Okay, so this is the differences we see and sometimes practically in the wisdom one, what is the wisdom? Basically, if you want to talk about the wisdom, I will bring back the wisdom in Abhidhamma. I think at least you must attain Sankara Upeka Jnana because according to the Bodhisattva path in the Burmese tradition, you talk about Bodhisattva must possess a Sankara Upeka Jnana, and this Sankara Upeka Jnana will make you more sustainable, not that vulnerable to defilement, and at the same time you can develop the psychic. So this is what the wisdom we can develop practically. Okay, now we go further. So let's take a look. Now the Mahayana emerged. Please, Elena, can you please read the passage? The Mahayana.
The Mahayana emerges into history as a loose confederation of groups, each associated with one or more of a number of new sutras, Pali Suttas. These attained a written form in Middle Indian dialects very soon after they were composed. Scribal amendments then gradually transformed their language into Buddhist hybrid Sanskrit, which approximated to classical Sanskrit, the prestige language of India. The texts were often added to over time, as seen by their different versions in Chinese translation, some of which are earlier in form than surviving Sanskrit version. As the ideas of the different sutras were drawn on. Later Mahayanists integrated their ideas and systematized them in various competing ways, depending on which text was seen to contain the highest, fullest truth. This process continued in the lands of Northern and Eastern Buddhism, which also took on differing broad emphases of their own. Anyone accepting the new literature as genuine suttas, authoritative or discourses of the Buddha, thereby belonged to the new movement. This did not necessitate monks and nuns abandoning their old fraternities, as they continued to follow the monastic discipline of the fraternities in which they had been ordained. The Mahayanists remained a minority among Indian Buddhists for some time, though in the 7th century, perhaps half of the 200,000 or more monks counted by the Chinese pilgrim Xuanzang were Mahayanists. Traditionalists deny that the new literature was the word of the Buddha, Buddha Vachana, like the early suttas. This early material did include teachings and inspired utterances of the Buddha's major disciples. But these were accepted as word of the Buddha as he had agreed with the teachings, or because of his general praise for such disciples. Even after they were all dead, some remembered material were added to the suttas if it harmonized well with the existing corpus in style and content. The new sutras were very different in style and tone, but were defended as the word of the Buddha through various devices. First, they were seen as inspired utterances excuse me, coming from the Buddha, now seen as still contactable through meditative visions and vivid dreams. Secondly, they were seen as the products of some kind of perfect wisdom, which was the basis of the Buddha's own teaching of the Dharma. Thirdly, in later Mahayana, they were seen as teaching hidden by the Buddha in the world of the serpent deities, until there were humans capable of seeing the deeper implication of his message, which would recover the teachings by means of meditative power. Each explanation saw the sutras as arising directly or indirectly from meditative experiences. Nevertheless, they take the form of dialogues between the historical Buddha and his disciples and gods.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Do Sally take leave today, huh? No, right? She doesn't take leave, huh? 你睇 Sally 入嚟開，日頭唔好講人，夜晚唔好講鬼啊！哈哈哈。She comes now.
Sally, page 109, Sally.
Okay, thumb up, please, once you finish. Elena, okay? Okay, okay, so class, now we are talking something basically which is quite relevant to us, which is about the early Mahayana movement. So actually, we talk about the early Mahayana movement. First of all, we have to know what is the time period for that. Second, of course, about the location. Third, of course, is regards the teaching. So let's take a look. Basically, the earlier the Mahayana, according to the text, it can refer to Andhra Pradesh. Somewhere here it begin. Okay, let's see. So this is the Andhra Pradesh in Indian. Okay, so they trace they got some proof that this is the beginning of the Mahayana. Secondly, is Ajanta Cave, Ajanta Caves in Maharashtra. Let's take a look. So this is the Ajanta Cave. So this Ajanta Cave, because the cave, they saw a lot of Jataka story in the cave. For example, let's take a look at Ajanta Cave, where I think the place worth for being visited. Ajanta Cave. See, this is the Ajanta Cave. Nowadays, become very famous tourism spot. You see, from the cave, you can see a lot of story regarding to the Jataka. Then you know that this is the beginning of the Mahayana, and you are able to see the stupa, all this kind of stuff. It's very traditional, quite can dated a very old age, quite old again. See, one of the 7 wonder. They label it because the area is so big. You see, okay. Well, the Mahayana, as we understand, how does it begin? It begins because of a group of the people that try. They want to have a movement. They want to do some revolution. Okay, so this is how they start. So this is a few locations. We suspect the beginning of the Mahayana. Besides these 2 places, actually, one more places in Wafa, as I know, is in the Gandhara. So Gandhara is somewhere in the Afghanistan and Pakistan, and the location, the very famous location, is the Taxila. So we put it. This is where is the Mahayanist movement. So meaning to say that. Because the academician noticed that a lot of some archaeological proof that this is how they begin the Mahayana. Maybe they are moving from one places to another places. The point is, once the Mahayana, they claim that they are the new movement. Basically, the traditional are opposing them. Who are the traditional? Basically, it's those from the Savastivada. Nothing to do with nowadays Theravada, because before Christ, 200 years, they all moved out to Sri Lanka. They have nothing to do with the Indian subcontinent. But the Savastivada, they are spreading around the Indian. They got so many different school of thought. They are the one opposing the Mahayana, because this is a new movement. So why they disagree? Why they claim that they are, if you try to trace back the year, it's quite far from the Buddha, but they still claim that they are the Buddhists. They are the Buddha saying they've got a few reasons. They say number one, our sutta, the Mahayana sutta, number one, a lot of content actually is contactable, which is obtainable from meditation and the dream. They said they claim that. Of course, this is the Mahayanist himself that claim. This is quite convincible to us, right? For example, if you believe Tijang Pusa, if you believe Guan Xin Pusa, actually all these bodhisattvas mainly begin from the Kandahar, Pakistan, Afghanistan, from that area, you see. So how come all this begin? Because if you talk about the Nikaya and Abhidhamma, especially Nikaya, all is from the cave. Meaning to say the first council, second council, third council, all have been run by a group of the monks. They are the real human, you see. And then archaeologically, they got some proof. But Mahayana, if they want to fight back that, no, we are also Buddha teaching. So they prove that, number one, some information is come from the dream and it come from the meditative experience. And some they claim that actually the Buddha text itself quite integrated well with the Nikaya. For example, if you check the Prajna Sutra, basically the emptiness in the Prajna Sutra is exactly the same with the Nikaya. Okay, meaning to say that even though all the sutra come during the 1st century, but as long as the information is reliable, it doesn't matter. It's not necessary to prove that from the Buddha mouth saying. The reason is because the content is already quite, it's quite consistent with what Buddha is saying. It's good enough already. So class, you see or not? So this is the point why nowadays even the Theravada, they deny the Mahayana text, basically more from the archaeological study. They say, oh, this is not from the 1st council, 2nd council. But if you go to find the text, the content, especially the Prajna, is about the same. Of course, the Yogacara is different because Yogacara talk about the 7 consciousness and the Alaya consciousness. Nikaya, they don't have. All the tradition, including the Savastivada, they don't have. But because they will be totally 20 school of thought. Some they have already. You can see the teaching regarding the sick. Meaning to say regards the eight consciousness. You can see already. It's already in a very how to say in the beginning form from the school of thought before it fully developed in the Mahayana. Especially the Mahayana school. But whereas class, if regarding the Arakiteswara, the sutra more for the faith, Amitabha, Guan Yin, Dizang Pusa, Manjushri. Okay, if you talk about all this, basically quite hard. You can't find the same material if you go to check the Nikaya Abhidhamma. You can't find that. This is a very unique part in the Mahayana. And usually Mahayanists are the believer. They will claim that, all these they are not human. They don't exist historically. But in the dream and meditation, they can contact to you. So this is how, finally, if you insist that you deny it, of course, you can find a group who deny it. So this is nowadays, Theravada usually they strongly believe this is not the Buddha saying. But for those who believe, they will consistently believe it. They will try to find more proof that a lot of religion, spiritual proof. You see, like near for farming, people die peacefully. Then quite a few people they pass away. The body very soft. They got the fragrance. All this type of stuff. So finally, the Buddha saying definition is depends on the tradition. You have your way of saying. I have my way of saying. And then of course some Mahayanists, especially the organizer, they are not sensitive enough. They will invite the Theravada go to the temple to give the talk. So they will some Theravada monk they are not sensitive. They directly deny the Tizang Wang or Manjushri Bodhisattva or Amitabha. And at the same time, at the back is the Amitabha and the Manjushri. But they don't know they are the Manjushri Amitabha. So they say they don't exist, So all the devotees, they all become confused already. So that's why if you want to invite somebody, especially Theravada, go to the temple to have a talk, you have to make sure that the definition of the Buddha saying must be same, or you will just create more confusion or more confusion among the public. So class, do you get it? If you trace back, actually the differences happened 1,000 years ago. It's already the difference is already there, not until in Malaysia. The Malaysia I see is as a modern Gandhara, which is a multicultural, multi races, multi religions. Then they all mixed together and meshed together. You see, it's same Gandhara 1,000 years ago. Situation is exactly the same. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, now here, let's see. Okay, so according to the text, you see, a few things from here, you see. Okay, wait lah. I see, okay, Mahayana emerges into history as a loose confederation of the group, so they say actually quite associated with the Pali Sutta also. But
sorry, I got the.
Okay, now you see, it's in the written form, but mostly it's in the Sanskrit. So class, you can notice that basically somebody they will claim that, I insist Buddha saying is the Pali text tradition. They will claim in this way. Some will say that, I insist Buddha saying in Sanskrit text. So you know that you talk about the Sanskrit text mainly for Mahayana. And remember that it's Mahayana mean the Madhyamaka Yogacara Bhumi. And then maybe also include the other bodhisattva and talk about the six parami Buddhahood. So this is the Sanskrit text mostly covered. For those who insist Pali text traditionally, meaning to say that maybe probably some they will deny the Buddhahood, like the Thai tradition. And then, of course, all the bodhisattva, which is popular in Mahayana, they all deny it. Because in Pali text, you can trace any shadow of them. So you see, it's something to do actually with the grammar, I mean the language they use to present the sutra. So you see or not, this is the Sanskrit at that time, you see. And they say this is added to over the time because they have a different version of the Chinese translation. This is correct. Class, have you heard about that? Hua Yan Jing or Tamsaka Sutra, or they got a 40 volume of Hua Yan, 60 volume of Hua Yan, and 80 volume of Hua Yan. How come with different version? The reason is because the sutta usually academically we don't believe that every word is come from Buddha mouth. We hardly believe that. We believe that maybe some fundamental, yes. Later on, people compiling it because they all memorizing the thing. They will add something on. So that's why after the compilation, you will notice, oh, how come some is a 40 volume, how come some 60 volume Hua Yan, and some is 80 volume Hua Yan? Because it getting it's adding along the time, over the time, it's keep on adding and more and more. Okay, then why? So this is academic question for them to study. Then next, let's take a look. You see why a specific Chinese translation? Because you can find the richness of the Sanskrit text translation in Chinese version. You see. Then he says, Mahayanists integrate the idea and systematize them. Yes, they integrate them. That's why they integrate them. That's why in all the Prajna Sutta, you're able to see Prajna inside the Mahayana Sutta everywhere. Because they already integrate them already. Some you see at the Nianfo Famen, you remember I mentioned to you that Nianfo Famen, sometimes we can categorize three types. Number one is the Western Pure Land external. The second, Western Pure Land internal. And the fourth one is the Western Pure Land integrate with Vipassana. Heard about that or not? You never heard about that. Yes. Why? The reason is once the Western Pure Land is very common, especially in China. You know or not? At that time, the China monk, they are quite a number. They are educated monk. At that time, you see the Western Pure Land come in, but the Prajna Sutta also come in. Let me ask you one question. Prajna Sutta, which emphasize emptiness, or everything will go back to the emptiness and the cause and condition. Whereas the Western Pure Land, everything looks so real, no matter the bird flying, or singing, and the fences and the floor. For you to choose, you think which one is more ultimate? Number one is the Prajna. The second is the Western Pure Land. Which one is more ultimate for you? Ultimate. Prajna Sutta or the Western Pure or the external Pure Land? Which one? Please choose. Number one, Prajna, all right, emptiness. How about Elena and Sally? Which one more ultimate? Okay, Sally. How about Elena? Two. No, actually it's number one. I don't know why in Chinese, because Prajna Sutra is as popular as Western Pure Land Sutra. I mean, in Chinese community. But basically, people you notice that the Prajna is more ultimate because they talk about emptiness. Okay, if let's say this is more ultimate, then how to avoid the conflict between both of them? So that's why the Chinese monk or ancient Chinese monk, they're very smart. They said external Pure Land actually is the lowest level. But once you achieve some nimitta or what, they say this is the Pure Land within the heart, which is integrate with the samadhi. But whereas, especially in the Middle East, they integrate the Nianfo Famen together with the Vipassana. So they say that you Nianfo at the same time, you have to observe the Namarupa. So they skillfully integrate the contradiction between both systems, which is empty and another one which is existence, which is quite real, you see. So this is the best way to integrate them together. So you get it or not? So that's why nowadays Western Pure Land is very good, especially for those need a direction, because it's very clear to tell you that there's the one places and there no suffering, just the joy. And then I tell you all the decoration, everything, all the birth oil, everything, very attractive for the beginner. And then because the direction is so concrete, so clear, so you can focus very well because you're aiming for them. So finally, when you attain to the jhana, okay, because after keep on chanting the Amitabha, you attain the jhana, they will ask you to divert this to samadhi, to integrate with the nimitta, become a samadhi. So this is the purely begin the heart already. You don't asking the external one, because you achieve that level already. But it's not enough. Finally, it must be the Nian-Fo Famen must integrate with the Vipassana. So you observe the Nama Rupa is still Nian-Fo Famen, but it's keep on upgrading already. So this is how which is available in the Chinese text of the Nian-Fo Famen. Because they got so many Nian-Fo Famen in the Chinese text, which is they found it, especially in the Pakistan, Afghanistan, the Gandhara places. So class gate, okay, so sad, Elena get wrong answer, I go to close the door first.
He was so sad he got to walk away for a while.
No, because the wind keep on blow the door. So let's continue. Okay, so then we talk about that. And now we talk about the location. You see, the process continue in the land of the northern and eastern Buddhism. Yes, the northern is this part. In Kandara. Eastern is this part. I think it's this part. So they keep on progress for the Mahayana. Then next you see they say anyone accepting as a genius sutra. Yes, nowadays usually Theravada, they don't accept it as a genius sutra. They don't accept it. But for us, I think we accept both, or like me, we accept both. We try to how to solve the contradiction between these two systems and make it become a new, we call it as a Malaysia-yana, we integrate both together. For example, if you're sick, maybe you chant Guan Yin, Amitabha, because you are fragile. But if you're strong, you should use Abhidhamma to check and do the Vipassana. It depends on what context we are. Am I right now? You couldn't be strong all the time. Am I right? You wouldn't strong all the time. Once you are quite vulnerable, you are asking some giant deva like bodhisattva to help you. You want something to rely on. Am I right? So what I mean, I believe for those who believe you choose one bodhisattva as a bodyguard, I think you don't have any depression because at least you got somebody to talk. Right? You got somebody to talk, somebody you can rely on, you see or not? Because not everybody the term satipatthana. Because you can sick one day. Sometimes the whole world can betray you. Then your satipatthana all will gone already. Because especially some monk, they overemphasize satipatthana, finally they destroy. So you say satipatthana is the only island you rely on. Now you destroy already, meaning to say you don't have any island. See or not? And yet sometimes this type of Theravada monk, they criticize the Mahayana, but end up you disrupt already, meaning to say your only major island not reliable, cannot help you anymore. See or not? So that's why basically more conservative in religion better. We don't criticize Mahayana, especially all the Bodhisattva. They play different roles, helping with the different people. So they must be there to helping. But of course, if you talk about, the common, the more representative signature identity, I think still will be Four Noble Truths and Eight Noble Paths. Because this is the one, all tradition commonly they recognize it. So if we want to tell outsider what is our gist, our signature, still have to talk about Four Noble Truths and Eight Noble Paths. Paticca Samuppada, all tradition recognizable. But you talk about the Western purely, just the Mahayana, they recognize it. Then the rest of the school, Tibetan, yes, but the Theravada, they don't accept it. So you can hardly become representative, and it is not common for all of us. Okay. Then next, let's take a look. Okay, then let's see. So traditionally, say from here, followed. You see a group of these people, the monk. Basically, you see, they're not necessarily the monk, not abandoning old fraternity. Not really. You see, they continue the disciple, they continue the monastic discipline. But yet, this group of Mahayanis remain a minority among the Indian Buddhists. They're still minority. You see, Xuan Zhuang visit Indian 7th century. He discovered about 200,000 at that time. Okay, I think they are somewhere here. The Mahayanis, once Xuan Zhuang travel from Xi'an to here, so I think he can get in Kandara, right? And then maybe when he travel back down here, you also can notice a Mahayanist monk here. Okay. Then next, let's take a look. You see, traditionalists deny the new literature. Okay, so basically, you see, they will accept the word of Buddha as they agree with the teaching. You see, for those who can accept it, then you have to agree that this is the Buddha teaching. You see, and they say, add to the sutta if it's harmonized well. Can harmonize well. You see, then you see, for Mahayanists, they believe that they say the word of the Buddha through different devices. Number 1, 2, meditative, and the vivid dream. And then they say this is the same kind of perfect wisdom. Okay, if you compare with the Pali Dhamma, and the third one is the later Mahayana. Especially later Mahayana mean what? Mean the secretive school. Secretive school. So it's actually the secretive school also begin in where? It's begin in Swat. So class, this is the place because I just come back from Pakistan. So I do quite some thorough study regarding this area. So this is the Swat. Basically, the Swat is the origin of the Tibetans. The secretive school class. Here is it. Here is it. The Swat. This is the Swat, the secretive school. So later on, the Chinese monk, they travel here. Some they will bring back this secretive school to China, or maybe through the Silk Road, or maybe through the maritime Silk Road to bring it back. Then it become the localized secretive school, and the Tibet also they come to bring it back, become a Tibetan secretive school. This is Tibetan monk, they make it more popular for all the mantra, for all the rituals, see. So they say, you see, they say the deeper implication of this message, you see, is the word of the serpent deity. A lot of this type of stuff, you see. You see, they say there were human capable of seeing the deeper implication of his message. At the later Mahayana, the Tibetan school, the secretive school, mostly the Buddha teaches is in the hidden way. You must be able to find out what is the meaning behind. You need a teacher to teach you and tell you. Okay, next, let's see. Okay, then you say, who recover the teaching by means of meditative power? See, it's still you can gain it back through the meditative power. So, in the simple way nowadays, Mahayana and the Tibet and the secretive school, later Mahayana, basically, you want to prove they can't find that they are not compiled during the first and second third council after Buddha Nibbana within 200 years. No, it doesn't happen that way. So they believe that all these are as long as the condense fit the Buddha teaching, and where does it come from? It could be from meditative experience or the dream. So this is how we give the position for the Mahayana and the later Mahayana. Yes, Mr. Leong, any question?
Sifu, regarding this secretive school in Tibet, is it called the Tantric Buddhism?
No, Tantric Buddhism is unique in Tibetan secretive school, but in China and also in Japan, the secretive school is without the Tantric one. Tantric is the yoga sex one. They exclude it because this one, the Tantric school, they believe that maybe some mixture at that time before they bring it back. It's quite later stage of the Buddhism. It's already a mixture a lot with the local some yoga sex school, so it become a tantric partial that will include all the chakra, meridian, and the bindu, all this type of stuff. But all this has been excluded from the secretive school in China and also in the Japan. Okay, so let me tell you, there are 4 types of the tantra actually from the secretive school. Let me search for you all the tantric. 4 types of the tantric. Yes, let's see. Yeah, 4 types of the tantric: Kriya, Charya, Yoga, Anuttara Yoga. Yes, 四序、行序、瑜伽、瑜伽. Yes, plus this is got 4 level tantra: Kriya, Karya, Yoga, and Anuttara Yoga. So basically, we talk about the yoga sex is the Anuttara Yoga. All this Anuttara Yoga only available in the secretive school in Tibetan only. Whereas if you go to the Japan and China, the Tibetan the secretive school just include 3 of them only: Kriya, Charya, and the Yoga only. Okay. So if you roughly want to know, you see what's a Kriya? Kriya Tantra means puts great emphasis on the physical activity, such as the ritual of the purification, like fire offering. So this is a Kriya Tantra, okay? Emphasize on the physical activity. Whereas a Charya, a method Tantra, is strike a balance between external activity and inner meditative stability. This we call it Charya Yoga. Then one more, see what is the yoga, the definition. Okay, let's see. Okay, so what is the yoga? Yoga means what? The union. This is the Tantra entirely concerned with the inner spiritual union. Okay, inner spiritual union. So this is the one quite very famous at the time. You see, you can get in China and also the Japan. Then the last one is the Anuttara Yoga, is the highest union. The Tantra stands somewhat apart. They say the most blind Tantra of all and the most powerful spiritual alchemy bring total enlightenment in one lifetime. So class, remember, enlightenment in one lifetime only began during the Tantra, during the Tantra era, later Mahayana, about 7th century. It began only at that time. So before the 7th century, basically it took 3 kappa eon for the Buddhahood. Just one, it began only at that time. So basically, why I'm still okay for this. The reason is because sometimes we talk about 3 kappa eon for the Buddhahood, quite scary for the people. Not everybody 你有時可能係一世人做人你都嫌唔長開係咪？好成做人㗎嘛先，一世你都嫌唔長你同你講咩？3 kappa eon哇，聽到咁樣，所以好多mahayana係咪都講，我哋去 Western period 咧再算咯 ，because 聽到咁緊要長嘅時間會嚇死人。Am I right? So at least you got more choice. So they say one lifetime you can become a Buddhahood. Like a Zen school also, one lifetime you can get enlightenment. At least you got more choice. Or more choice better than no choice. Am I right? If you limit yourself in the Theravada only, if this Mahasi, part you all cannot work well, then what to do? At least you have all other way for you to choose. You have more choice for you. So that's what I say. We try to be open. It's good. So this is what we call as highest yoga. Okay. And they say the training not only for the life experience, but also for the death and intermediate state between the life. So we call it as a Vajrayana. It's from the Tibetan school. Okay. This is a unique for the Tibetan school. They developed this Anuttara Yoga, the most sublime. So this is the reason why usually if a Tibetan monk, you should say that we are more highest, we are more super. Basically, all traditions say they are the highest one. You go to the Surangama, they say, we are the best. You go to the medicine sutra, they say, oh, we also the best. All say they are the best. So you just choose which one fit you. That is the best. And next, let's take a look. Okay, so we finish here. Okay. Now we go to the initial new sutra. Sally, can you please read the passage? The initial new sutras. On the mic, please, Sally.
Okay. The initial new sutras were regarded as the second turning of the Dharma wheel in a deeper level of teaching than the earlier sutras, with the Buddha Bodhisattva disciples portrayed as wiser than his Arahat disciples. Because of the liberating truth, the sutras were seen to contain that there was said to be a huge amount of karmic fruitfulness in copying them out and disseminating, reciting, expounding, understanding, practicing, and even ritually venerating them. Such claims suggest defensiveness on the part of the new small movement trying to establish itself. Some of the Mahayana sutras may have been in part produced by the new breed of charismatic Dharma preachers who championed them. These monks and some lay people directed their teaching both within and beyond the existing Buddhist community to win converts. This they did by extolling the virtues of perfect Buddhahood, so as to elicit a conversation experience of profound physiological effect. This was the arising of the thought of awakening, bodhicitta, the heartfelt aspiration to strive for full Buddhahood by means of bodhisattva path. The new perspective on the scriptural legitimacy led by Mahayana, having an open, ongoing revelation which produced a huge outpouring of new sutras in India in the period up to around 650 CE. These were composed anonymously, often by a number of authors elaborating a basic text to produce works frequently running to hundreds of pages in length. In contrast, the early suttas were 95 printed pages long at most, and often only run to a page or two. In certain early suttas, such as the Mahasamaya, the Buddha is a glorious spiritual being, being surrounded by countless gods and hundreds of disciples. The Mahayana Sutras developed this style. In them, Buddha uses hyperbolic language and paradox and makes known to many heavenly Buddhas and high-level heavenly bodhisattvas existing in many regions of the universe. A number of these savior beings, the Buddhas and in time bodhisattvas, became objects of devotion and prayer, and greatly added to the appeal and missionary success of the Mahayana.
Okay, thank you. Sally, are you using the handphone for the class? You are using handphone, okay?
Yeah.
Yes. So I make it so big. You like it very much, right?
Thank you.
The blind people also can see. Yeah.
Blind cannot see, Sifu.
Yeah, no, this is the correct. It's just a proverb in Cantonese 係咪？盲嘅都睇到嗬，亦是個 proverb idiom 啊嗬。How should we call it? Mr. Liang 係咪 proverb 啊？盲嘅都睇到啦，係咪 ？proverb 啊
？Yeah.
是 something like a proverb 啊。Okay, we highlight 嗬。 Okay, finish class. Okay, actually, from here we can do a little bit comparison. We just try to use two pictures. You can know the difference already. For example, Buddha in Nikaya. Usually, Buddha in Nikaya is a very simple form. Okay, so we call it as just the Buddha. Maybe a Buddha in Nibbana lah, more common lah. Nibbana. Okay, so if you talk about the Buddha in Parinibbana, usually we are able to see the Buddha just like a human form, okay? Then, a very simple way lah, okay? Or some are also, you still can able to see some deva surrounding him lah, but a little bit different from the Mahayana text. If let's say, if this is the Mahayana text, wait, let me see. Buddha in Parinibbana. Parinibbana. Okay, you see now, this is the Parinibbana, the Buddha text. This is the Buddha in a quite early stage. Okay, but if let's say we talk about the Buddha, just Huayan, Awatam Saka, the situation in Awatam Saka. See, I have to use a Chinese Huayan Jingjie lah. Wait. Okay, like Huayan Jingjie. Huayan Jingjie. You see, once you talk about the Awatam Saka, the situation, it will be a little bit different. You'll be able to see the Buddha. Okay, let's see. Now you see the Buddha surrounded by a lot of Bodhisattva. So you see these two situations a little bit different. This is the Buddha, just like a human form, and surrounded by all the Arahant before the Parinibbana. But if you talk about Awatam Saka, this is the Awatam Saka Vajrayana Buddha. They are surrounded by a lot of Bodhisattva. So according to the author, he say, basically this type of the text, the author is unanimous. What to say? Animus. They don't know who is the author. Okay, this type of sutta usually come, in a quite big volume, about 7th century. Quite a number flushing in the Indian, and usually it's very big volume. That's why Xuanzang brought back the Prajna Sutra. The volume turned out to be 600 volume, very big volume. But if let's say the Nikaya, usually very simple, 1 or 2 pages is the one sutta already. So we see, wow, the change is quite drastic. Okay, so that's why this is the Mahayana. Some people didn't notice that because they can't exactly tell how come all the sutta come in the big volume, and usually the content is more for higher levels of the Wenshu, Pusen Bodhisattva. If you try to study the Nikaya Abhidhamma and also the Huayan Jing or this, you found that these two different tastes of the Dharma. Am I right? You see, usually Mahayana Sutra, they give you the impression that it happened in this way. A Buddha, then a lot of Bodhisattva surrounding. Usually this impression quite common for most of the Mahayana Sutta. Whereas the Nikaya usually are just very humanized form, and then very simple and humanized. And usually the situation mostly located is in the earth. But sometimes some deva also take part involved. So these two is quite different tastes as we see here. So let's take a look. You see, the new initial sutta is the second turning wheel, is about the Bodhisattva disciple wiser than the Arahant. You see, this is how the Mahayanists believe. They believe that the Buddha, the second turning wheel, is more deeper. The Arahant, they can't understand. because Bodhisattva, they are ready to become a Buddhahood. So this is how the number of the devotee of the Mahayana will keep on. Still, some people embrace the belief of Mahayana because it claims that it is better and more deeper than Arahant. Okay, so this is number one. Then secondly, let's take a look. You see, and they say a huge amount of the karmic fruitfulness disseminating, reciting, expounding, understanding, practicing, even ritualing it. Meaning to say that why Mahayana spreading so popular among the people, because in Mahayana Sutta, it keep on mentioning if you have a good karma, if you're reciting it, disseminate and expounding it. You can get it usually after the 地藏经, after the 观世音菩萨普门品, after the 华严经, it keep on saying that expound the sutra, recite to other, you get very good fruitful. So this is how the sutta becomes so common it's spreading a whole Indian, you see, compared with the early stage of the Buddhism. There are not more people embracing the Mahayana Sutta because the marketing strategy is very good. Even now, you go to chant the Mahayana Sutta, at the end you notice that, this is why they can be so popular, because they emphasize the merit for dissemination. And next, let's take a look. Whereas I think Nikaya, not that obvious to talk about this, you see. All right, you see, it's a producer, new breed of the charismatic Dharma preacher. Yeah, Mahayana, the teaching usually spread by a more charismatic Mahayana preacher. Well, nowadays, I heard maybe the Christian, the preacher of the Christian, they are very charismatic. They can talk very well. They're highly educated, very attractive. So during at that time, same in India now, why Mahayana influences is better than the school of thought because of this factor with the charismatic of the preacher. Then next, let's take a look. Sorry. What is the page number? 108. Wait lah.
110 師傅。
110師傅。
No, 110. Okay. Right. Make it bigger, Okay, let's come the next. See. Then he said within and beyond existing Buddha community, preaching within and beyond, and then make it more popular. And then talk about that, emphasize the bodhicitta, and then the heartfelt aspiration to strive for the full Buddhahood. Class, actually, Mahayana still successful until nowadays. If you talk about, especially if they learn the Buddhism origin from the Mahayana tradition until now, they're still aiming for the Buddhahood. No matter how Theravada strong, if you don't begin with the Theravada, if you learn the Mahayana, then go to Theravada, maybe you still insist on Mahayana. You still think Buddhahood is better. Why? Because the Mahayanist is a very good preacher and the teaching is very attractive. Should I know who aim for the Buddhahood here? Can you raise your hand? Who aim for the Buddhahood? That's Sally, Sally. Mr. Leong also. How about Elena? Elena, are you aiming for Buddhahood?
I don't know my level is too low. I only aiming at least if I can go to
don't know it's the best
answer there. I'm already pure land. I'm already very grateful already.
No. If you're aiming for the pure land, it still is the Mahayana. But the Mahayana more for the more easy path. You see, three of you I think three of you Mr. Leong, I see more rojak compare Sally and Elena. But Mr. Leong still end up for Mahayana, for Buddhahood. Am I right, Mr. Leong? Am I right?
Yes, Sifu.
Yes, yes, see or not? So this is how influential of the Mahayana. You go to talk to the Theravada and say you all lost already. You're the loser. We all Mahayana win already. A joke only lah. But I think where do you begin is very important. I noticed that. If you begin from Theravada, this is where you start. It's quite hard for you to change one. Am I right? Because I begin up with the Master Xuan Hua, even though now I major in teaching Abhidhamma, the Theravada one, you see. But no matter how, I still want to give some position, Mahayana one. Am I right? Even though like this, I try to solve the contradiction between them, to make them, to get the balance between both of them, make them coexist. Okay, let's continue. But anyway, this is some weakness of Mahayana. You got to know. You see, the page is very long. That's why if you chant the Mahayana Sutra, wow, very long. The Dhamma flower, the Autumn Saka is very long. This is the reason here, you see.
3 days. 3 days.
Yeah. Then one more, he say, Buddha using the hyperbolic language and paradox. So, all indirectly present the information. Whereas I think Nikaya more common, more direct. Am I right? If you read the Nikaya, very direct, very simple. Just give you the answer. Sometimes Mahayana, just you don't know what does it mean. Especially the Prajna, and a lot of the pure land, the level, which is something you quite hard to comprehend. And next, let's take a look. Then you see, they got heavenly Buddha and the high-level heavenly Bodhisattva and existing in many regions of the universe. So this is what you can see in this picture. 10 direction also got the Buddha. So if you say you are the Mahayanist, meaning to say you include this type of a teaching in your belief. Whereas for Theravada, if they claim that, I'm more on Pali tradition, meaning to say they don't believe for the Buddha in the 10 direction. They more uphold for the liberation as Arahant is good enough. And then they believe the Buddha, but they don't aim for the Buddha. So there's a difference, or you can see. And next, let's take a look. Now you see, it said, became object of the devotion and the prayer, or the Buddha, and then greatly added to the appeal and missionary success of the Mahayana. So this is what we see here. Then we come to see the nature of the Mahayana and its attitude to the early school. Okay, we still got time. Let's go through some passage. Okay, yes, Mr. Leong, I think you haven't read the passage yet, please. Yes, any question, Mr. Leong? Yes. Yeah, Mr. Leong, any question? On the mic, please.
What is this Mahaya-samaya? Mahasamaya.
Oh, okay, Mahayana-samaya. This is one of the sutra. Maybe if you need to know, let me try to Google it for you. I have to get the translation first. This one, Mahasamaya. D2 is the Dikka Nikaya. D2. Let's see. Early sutta. I think Mahasamaya is in the Dikka Nikaya. Okay, let's see. Mahasamaya. Okay, Mahasamaya. Let's see the Chinese one. I'm more familiar with the Chinese. Zhongwen. Oh, Changbu is in the Dikka Nikaya. Mahasamaya is in the Dikka Nikaya. Da Hui Jing. You see a class in the Mahasamaya. Okay, let's take a look. I know why it mentioned, because in this Mahasamaya, they will see the 4 heavenly gods. Let me try to translate to become the English. What does it mention regarding, you see, English? Okay, I translate, you see, 4 gods in the Pure Land. See, it mentioned 4 gods in the Pure Land. Then it mentioned that Kapilavastu is the group of 500 monks. And then many gods gathered together to visit the blessed one and the monk. You see a lot, you can see the taste is quite like the Mahayana one, you see. The taste like a Mahayanista, a lot of monks surrounding, Bodhisattva surrounding, see. So they say, you see, in certain early sutta, like the Mahasamaya, is the Dikka, they say Buddha is gloriously spiritual, being surrounded by countless God and hundreds of disciples. So meaning to say, he said, Mahayana Sutta developed this style, you see or not? Actually, this one surrounded by countless God you can the minor sutta, the style can trace back to the Digha Nikaya. Digha Nikaya, basically are commonly recognizable by all the different schools of the thought. They all believe that now. So meaning to say that minor sutta, the situation, God's surrounding is nothing new. Actually, you can find in the Digha Nikaya. Okay, so Mr. Leong, you can tell Bande Mahinda regarding all this. I think he will be very happy because he is chanting Kuan Yin, as I know. Very Malaysia Yana, very Mahinda.
Yes.
Okay.
This project already.
Yeah, very Rojak. I like Rojak actually. Okay, so Mr. Leong, okay, why do we have to learn all this, Mr. Leong? The reason is once you know that Mahayana Sutta actually origin from all you can trace back the Mahayana early stages from the Digha Nikaya, meaning to say that they come from something. This is a movement. It's changing from the Digha to come to here. It's not something created by somebody. Because usually Theravada, they prefer thinking that all the Mahayana is something addition from the Chinese people. They always think in this way. But they don't realize that actually the development is gradually from the Ganges River and go to the Gandhara. From Gandhara go to the Chinese, go to the China. And then this development take very long time. See or not? And then besides, a lot of Mahayana actually, the Mahayanis learn from the Buddha, different school of thought, and they share common Nikaya and Abhidhamma with the Theravada nowadays. So that's why you still can trace back the early stage of the Mahayana. How does it origin from? Okay? So if they want to make one family with us, we can show them all this proof But I think they taught us 好似傻仔咁啫。你哋都唔係Buddha saying，我哋先至係 pure 嘅。But mostly 佢哋係當你係傻仔比較多啲啦。The way I see it 啦，Theravada some very traditional one，佢哋咁樣諗啦。所以我哋就唔會理佢。So Mr. Leong你去係咪就 meditate 咯？佢講咁多唔使理。We meditate，we learn all the method and then you try to enhance yourself and the Mahayana teaching integrate it 啦，咁樣啦。Because 你知道冇有時係咪就係我哋有 nun 係咪去嗰度學 meditation， 學完之後佢哋問佢哋，你哋愛轉去Theravada some if they are not very steady in mind, so they will just change the tradition including some bhikkhu and the layman also same. They will ask you, we are more genius, we are more pure. Why don't you change to us? You are the one is cannot.你哋呢個好鬧舊you shouldn't be like that. And then after a certain time, if you're influenced by them, all the devotees come back, they don't want to pay respect to us already, you know. 咁樣都會有嘅啫okay. So that's why有時we don't want to just specifically use the Theravada tradition of the sutra or the text. We want to use also the Sarvastivada to make the influence not that biased to certain tradition, make it more balanced. Okay, wait, I see. Let me see. Got somebody calling me. Okay, next. Yeah, Mr. Leong, can you please read the passage? The nature of the Mahayana in its attitude to the early school.
The nature of the Mahayana and its attitude to earlier schools. At first, the new movement was called the buddhism-early, or spiritual will of the Buddhist. It was under distinction to the vehicle of the disciple, Sravakayana, and the vehicle of the solitary Buddha, Pratyeka Buddhayana, which respectively aim to become Arahants and Pratyeka Buddhas. As the new movement responded to criticism from those who did not accept the new sutras, it increasingly stressed the superiority of the Bodhisattvayana and referred to it as the Mahayana, the great vehicle or vehicle leading to the great. The other vehicles were disparate as being the inferior vehicle of Hinayana. The greatness of the new vehicle was seen to lie in three areas: its compassionate motivation directed at the salvation of countless beings, the fecundity of the wisdom it cultivates, and its superior goal, omniscient Buddhahood. Prior to its first translation into Chinese in
Yes, Mr. Leong, you can
286.
stop here, huh? Omniscience Buddhahood. Mr. Leong, can you hear me, Mr. Leong?
Can, thank you.
Elena, 你聽到我講嘢冇 Elena? Can you hear me? Yeah, we stop here lah, huh? Okay, Mr. Leong, I think I can't hear you or something wrong with your Wi-Fi, I think.
Yeah, I think so. The reception is very poor, very weak.
Okay, finish. So now we talk about the new movement. It can date back to the 1st century, and I think must be in the Pakistan, Afghanistan, and maybe some part of the Indian. So basically what happened is there are a group of new people that emphasize a bodhisattva yana, which is very special and better than, they claim that they are better than the Sravaka yana and Pracheka yana. Why? Because the bodhisattva yana, number one, you are more higher goal, want to become a Buddha, not just Arahant only. Then second one is say, we must aiming, have a great compassion to save all the living being. And the third one, we must have the profound wisdom. Class, is this sound more interesting and more marketing, better marketing compared with the Arahantship for you? Am I right? More better, right? That's why Mahayanists, even though the Theravada always claim that, we don't know, your sutta all come from the anonymous, but they're still very interesting because they can set a very good goal or have a good marketing strategy or compare with the this Sravakayana and the Prachekana Buddha. And at the same time, they label them as a inferiority or inferior yana, or we call it as something which is quite bad, inferiority. This is what they try to call them inferiority, inferior vehicle or Hinayana. But basically nowadays, we don't use this word to label the Theravada because this controversy happened during in the Kandara. at the Kandahar. So these two of the school, they try to attack each other. They say, you are the Hinayana. But what will the Hinayana counter attack? They say, you are not from the Buddha saying, because all your texts is anonymous, you see. So actually nowadays we try to avoid label them as Hinayana. We say you are the Theravada. Whereas for Mahayana, how do they see us? I don't know. I don't know. But some once we go to the Theravada, they respect us. So during the Pindabat, they let us line front, you know. We line front. But some they thought we are the Japanese monk, we will marry and eat the meat, and also or don't have the precept, so they take us as a layman. Some are Theravada. It depends on how well they understand us or not. Okay. Okay, I think we stop here. Okay, for the next lessons we continue lah. So this is the same thing. In order to let you know, so that I think class, I know that by studying this, do you better understand why the contradiction between nowadays the Mahayana and Theravada? Do you know it better? You know why? Because all the contradiction exists 1,000 years ago already. They're already there already. The quarrel is there already. 1,000 years ago, the brother all cannot stay together. Nowadays also cannot stay together. So some we just make sure we don't criticize each other. So we believe what we want to believe. That's all. Okay, then that's all. We try to transfer the merit. Please palms together. Hey, sorry, besides this, now I'm going to launching 3 new Chinese lesson courses, not the lesson. Usually our lesson is very long one. I think 3 of them are the easiest one. Is the bibliography of Fa Xian during the journey to the Indian class for Fa Xian. Okay, this is how Fa Xian travel. This is Fa Xian as Fa Xian monk. Okay, Fa Xian. I think we have gone through his story before, not this. Fa Xian. Okay, basically Fa Xian traveled China to India 300 early than Xuanzang. So you see from the Xi'an and then and cross over the desert and reach to Afghanistan, Pakistan, and then from here he reached the Bodh Gaya, and then he also traveled to the Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. From the Sea Silk Road and across the Malacca Strait, and then from here go back to the Guangzhou. Okay, we will try to compare the journey with the Xuanzang and the modern day destination, all in Chinese, more for the story. Anyone would like to try the lesson? You want to have a try for this courses?
When?
Usually we don't know when.
Sifu, if it's in English only Chinese, I don't understand now.
No, I'm waiting for Tuesday and the Saturday class. See which one finish first. So you just sign your name that inside there. Then if let's say the time is not tally, you can just withdraw. But first of all, if you're interested, I just put you in. Because I already prepare all the food. You just come have a bite of try only. Just try lah. Ngam sik my more just sik lo. Anyone want to try? One bite also. Elena and Sally just try one bite. 我都煮到開你開口啫嘛，冇先。去到摸嗰啲人俾嘢你食唔食你又笨著咪攞塞喺口嗰度咪係咯，食咗唔啱咪走人咯，啱再賣多啲咯，啱冇先？same concept 呢？而家你哋又好奇怪同我而家好似開 supermarket 咩都俾你哋試食，食到啱就食多啲，食到唔啱就走人真係。Don't know what is the it's changing already. Okay, transfer the merit. So please palms together. I wish to inculcate
more favorable
consciousness,
more favorable
consciousness,
through transferring merit
through
through
transferring
transferring merit
to my past life enemy and relative.
to my
my
past
past
life
life
enemies
enemy
and
and
relatives.
May they be liberated
May they
may
be
be
liberated
liberated
and free from suffering,
and
and
free from
free from
suffering,
suffering,
attain Nibbana,
attain
attain
Nibbana,
and helping others to do the same.
and
and helping others to do the same.
Yes, Sally, please.
Thank you, Sifu, for the class today, and we pay true respects. Sadhu,
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 sadhu.
sadhu.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.